My name is Funke Bucknor Obruthe, founder and CEO of Zafar Events. Zafar Events has been building in Nigeria for the past 23 years. My favorite thing about growing the brand really for me has been just seeing something that I started from nothing. Just seeing it evolve, in an industry that almost didn't exist. And then you're seeing it and you're like seeing, the various angles of it, also even in an industry that didn't exist. And then you are now like, one of the, I would say pioneer, and then you are now seeing a journey of growth. I think one of the favorite things for me is just seeing the experiences we create, the new clients we have, building a team, just seeing something that you never really thought would be this big or this recognized grow. I think that's been one of my favorite things. I studied law, and right from university, law school, I knew that law wasn't what I wanted to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know how it is. You know what you don't want to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I started planning events for my friends. I just helped one of my friends do something at an event. I saw people were always stressed out, and I felt, you know what, I can take the stress off you. And I started doing this. But when I started, I did it without collecting a dime. I just said, let me help you. I helped my friend, it was fun, honky-dory. Then a few events after, my cousin says to me, hey, you, this girl, you can begin to charge for this. Have you thought about that? I said, I didn't know people would pay. You think they'll pay in Nigeria? And he said, I think they would. And that's how I charged for the first event. I told my friend's sister, my friend was getting married, and I said to her, let me help you. And then I charged her. And then another friend was getting married, friend's sister, and I charged her. And that's how it started. And then when I did that, I realized this is real business here. So that's when, of course, I now started putting in structure. So this was about 20 years ago, 20 years ago, putting the structure, putting the process, started hiring the people. And that's how I knew that this was not a brand to play with. I would say that the second event I planned was one of the events I said, now I am the G. And why was this event that way for me? It was because all the vendors that worked at that event, all the service providers, were the top of the top of the top of the top in the event industry at that time. So working on that project was like as if I was now the top of the top of the top. And that was when I knew, Mama, I made it. I'm here. I got this. I understood why I was doing what I was doing. I recognized that I was fulfilling and solving a problem, because a lot of people were always stressed when they were planning the event. And I thought, I'm going to help them take the stress off. So I was solving a problem. Now, when you're solving a problem, you bring value to the table. And when you bring value, you can charge for the value, right? So it's a cycle. So I knew that I was bringing value. I knew that people had seen this value, and then I could go and say, you know what? Pay me for this service. So I was confident enough to go and say, you need this. A lot of times we don't even know what we need until we experience it. I was like, you need this. You need me in your corner. So this is my fee. And that was how I was confident. So I was able to speak to different people in different strata of the society. And then, of course, command the fees that we could command. Now, another thing that also helped was that when I started, I was starting with my generation, with my friends, with my family, people that I could rely on them to do the work. So they needed the services at that time. So I was able to ride on their back to do what I needed to do. So that was it really. So it was about creating that value, making sure that people can pay for that value, making sure that people see the value, and then being excellent at it. At the very beginning, I was determined to be excellent. I said, you know what, I'm not going to compromise. I must be excellent. This brand will be excellent. You understand? And that was it for me. For anyone that wants to plan an event for the first time, I would first of all say, have you looked at all the things that you need to be able to, plan this event? There are many skills and many attributes of an event person. So are you creative enough? Are you analytical? You know, do you pay attention to detail? Are you good at logistics structure? Are you resourceful? So you need to look at all those things and say, you know what, I have all this, you know, and then with that, you can begin to now get into planning your first event. And even with that, planning your first event, because you're going to make mistakes, right? With planning your first event, you just need to make sure that you have covered all the I's and dotted all the T's. So make sure that you have your people skills, you have your listening skills, you know, your interpersonal skills, you know, everything that you require, you know, even to run a business, you have it. You know, how do you speak to people? How do you address people? How do you manage a team? Because to do anything, you have to learn how to manage a team. How are you as a leader? You know, things like that. So I would advise them to make sure that they have all this. Even if they don't have all of it, you need a team. So you begin to build your team that may have some of these skills in them. And then with that, you can now do your event. And I would dare say to anyone to say, don't worry, your first event, you're not going to get it right, or you're not going to get everything right. But what you need to do is to dust yourself up and then just begin to say, where did I get it wrong? How can I do it, you know? And because you can only get better when you continue to practice and practice and practice. You know, that's it. So that's what I would say. Making mistakes or failure really at your event, I would say, or even in business generally in life, is just to say that I've done some events that I've thought to myself, what was going on here? And maybe some of it was at no fault of ours. It could have been the client's fault. It could have been just something that was beyond your control. You know, things happen in life. So there are things that happen that are beyond your control. Now, when something is beyond your control, what do? You begin to think and say, okay, this is happening. How do I solve it? Or how could I have done it better? So you must always reflect. You must always be retrospective. You must always look, you know, inwards and say, what did I do? Was it my fault? Was it the client's fault? Was it the circumstances? And then how can I rise from that? I've had many events like that. You know, do you understand? I would have even thought the event was 100% perfect. The clients can say, no, this didn't happen, or that you didn't get this done. Or maybe sometimes it was the client's fault. The client chose something that really didn't go well. But you know, at that time, you can't go and tell the client it's your fault. So you have to take it as the event person, because as an event entrepreneur, as an event producer, you carry everybody's burden. You carry every single thing relies on you. You are like a conductor. So if anything drops, it's your fault. So you just have to take that and say, okay, how can I do it better? Should I have communicated better with the client? Should I have, you know, spoken to my team more? Should I have put more structure in place? Should I have anticipated? So that's why I always say that even with any event, you must always think of crisis management. You know, every single time, what can go wrong? A, B, C, D, E, anything can go wrong at any time, right? So, but the key thing is rising above those challenges, recognizing the challenge, don't run away from it, and then just looking at how you can solve and mitigate that challenge the next time. When someone is speaking from 23 years of experience, nobody's saying we've got it all together. But one thing is that you must never stop learning. You must continue to develop yourself. Now, I would say this. Being self-aware is so important. So recognizing your strengths, recognizing your weaknesses, recognizing the skills that you lack. Your skill gap, how do you feel that? So what do? Do I need to get coaches? Do I go online and read? Whatever the key thing is to identify your skill gap and then begin to feel the knowledge gap that you require. So, you know, it could be watching videos. It could be, of course, getting a mentor. It could be getting a coach. It could be reading books. It could be going online, you know, checking all the Instagram, you know, whatever it is that you need to be able to fill that knowledge gap or fill that skill gap, you need to do it. But the key thing is to recognize that there's a gap. Because, you know, we don't know all things. And things change. Things evolve over time. In years and years to come, every single time, every day, there's something new happening. So how are you going to ensure that you are on top of your game? It's by learning. You can never stop learning. You can never stop developing. That's very, very, very critical. One of my greatest desires in this world is to create the biggest, you know, online physical learning platform for the event industry. I already have a training school. I already do this. I've mentored, people have interned, I've trained thousands and thousands of event professionals that have gone on to do great things. But I want to be able to do it for Africa and the world. That is really my greatest dream. For anyone that wants to, be an entrepreneur, especially a woman, I would say woman, man, but woman, of course, an entrepreneur, I would say, know why you're doing what you're doing. What is your vision? What is your why? Why are you in this space? What is the reason you are being in business? Well, that's to make money. Business, making money is good, but there must be other reasons why you're doing it. And when you do find out that why, it propels you to do more. It propels you to be intentional, to be deliberate. It allows you to begin to see the potential of your business and all that you need to ensure that the business grows to where you want it to grow. So I would say know your why, really. I think that because many women have gone ahead of me and many women have held my hand, and they have broken tables, they've shattered the tables, I don't see limitations. I see myself going into a room with confidence, going into a room with the backing of so many others that have gone ahead of me. To be able to get into a room and just be confident. But to be confident, you need to have knowledge. To be confident, you need to be exposed. To be confident, you need to have learned. To be confident, you need to be humble. So all those things actually all count for how you get into a room, and you can tell the decision makers in the room, whether they're male, whether they're female, hey, I got this.